the power of creating space to share stories is a way to create belonging. It is a way to create inclusion. And often we think we have to come in and know it all, or share our story or our version of truth in order to lead. And I think we just have to flip that paradigm around and just create the space for conversations.
It's just about having fun, and when everybody's having fun, it's easy to feel included. And what we do with Let's Play is we encourage the kids to bring their siblings or their friends, and making sure they're comfortable to get started. And sometimes they're not ready just to jump in and play. Like, we expect every child just to be like, oh wow, this is awesome. And sometimes they're scared. And so they'd have to watch for a little while. And sometimes their brother or sister jumps out and plays first, or mom or dad will hop in a chair, and just, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to kind of ease them in. But once they get into the sports chair and we wheel around and see how freely and quickly they can move, it's different for every child in terms of how we include them and how their transition goes into it. But we really just take the time to kind of get to know the children and what their needs are.
I always said to myself, I wanted to create a space where women and diverse people were empowered. And that empowerment also comes with feeling seen. We've heard a lot of people say, through this year, especially, when we were seeing the injustices in July with George Floyd being killed by the police, and, anti-Black racism and all of those movements, and just trauma and stress that everybody has been going through. Watching some of these visuals, you start to ask yourself, well, who are the voices we're not hearing from? Who are the voices that are continually being stifled and oppressed? And what can I do to change that? And what can I do to make sure an athlete who is suffering from anxiety is seen, an athlete who is Indigenous and was a part of some of the Indigenous movements growing up? How can I make sure she's seen? I've featured a woman who was transgender on a hockey team. How can I make her seen? And also in our series, we've highlighted a Paralympic athlete who had spina bifida, and my brother-in-law has spina bifida. So you just start thinking about the people who aren't seen, who don't feel like they have a place, they don't feel like they belong, and what can you do to help them with that, help them to be seen, help them to have their voices heard.
Pride Tape is an opportunity for you to show your support without saying any words. So we have that going for us by just, more tape on more sticks means more messages of inclusion.
And when I think about belonging, I think back to that university team. I think that's why, even though I was different than everybody in a number of ways, I've never felt so much like I belonged to a group of people. And that's 20 years ago now, and I still think about those people every day, and I still hear Glenn Belfry's voice in my head, and how he knew sports aren't just about swimming fast. Sports are about so much more than that, and it is about belonging and creating meaning and creating community and connection. And so I've carried those lessons through my life, and I think about them when I'm teaching writing or teaching anything. So to be back in that exact environment, and it's like everything, the chlorine and the warmth and the splashing, and it just feels like home. And so for me to be able to stand on deck and say to each of those athletes, and through my body language, my eye contact and everything, like, I see you, you matter, your effort has meaning, is giving back to those people the lessons that I learned at a formative stage in my life.
So again, our goal is just to provide a platform to tell those stories, and then also help them tell their stories as best we can through the amplification of our partners, which have been so supportive.